Hi, I am Ashley Adamson. Welcome to Tea Time. Today we're going to talk about self-esteem, which is probably one of the most important things that you're going to need to work through on any level as a human being in this world, but also just like as a trans person. It's so important to have some self-esteem as you move through your transition because it's going to affect the decisions you make, and those decisions are really going to have lasting effects. Especially if you're choosing to stay in a relationship that is perhaps not accepting you as much, but they like you enough that you feel like it's good for you. Or if it's something like, I will let myself do this thing that maybe isn't as good for me and it's just going to be a little harmful. Something like that. Self-esteem will always lead us to make, if we have low self-esteem, it's going to lead us to make worse decisions. That's just the de facto, like how it works. Because you don't see the value in yourself, then how are other people going to see the value in you? And then how are those people going to react to you or treat you? Whether that's at work, people don't see that you have self-esteem, so they see that you don't have, you don't carry as much value in yourself, and then that's going to lead you to not get paid as much, not get as many opportunities. It's just like far-reaching where self-esteem is. Now, there's high performers with low self-esteem, and I would say I have been one of them. Being able to kind of like shell my self-esteem and have a false sense of self-esteem that works in an environment around people socially so that I am perceived of having high self-esteem. But I'll be honest with you, there are times where I've realized I have low self-esteem. I have low self-esteem when I look in the mirror. I have low self-esteem about sometimes the value that I can provide in the world. And I think I have low self-esteem around like my future sometimes. I feel like I question it. I feel like I don't know if I'm going to go down the right path of what I'm doing. Do you ever get that feeling of feeling uncertainty around the outcomes of your life, about the outcomes of your transition, about the outcomes of where you want to go and what your passion is? You know, those are really hard questions to answer. And if you have low self-esteem, it also means you'll have lower faith in those outcomes, which also leads you to making decisions that are risk averse. So trying to avoid any kind of loss because you feel like you don't have the ability to make those outcomes more positive. And this is kind of like one of those difficulties that I think we need to work through as trans people and just as human beings in general is our self-esteem. So I wanted to share this one thing with you that I think is really powerful in understanding your self-esteem and understanding how you can work with it. By the way, if you've not seen this before, this is Tea Time. It's unedited and unscripted, so you're really just going to get to know me as I'm talking right now. And I'd love to hear from you if you're new to the show, or even if you've been here all the time. I'd love to hear from you. Let's talk. Let's communicate. Write me a comment down below. And if you're new here, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon if you'd like notifications about my next video when it's out. So today's topic is self-esteem, and I'm going to tell you kind of like some of the main things that I've used in working through my self-esteem and a conceptual framework to really understand this. I think this is really special, and I'm probably going to put it into my Trans and Thriving program, which I haven't finished yet, but I'm working on right now, and I think it's going to be really good. So this is free, but I'm going to charge money for it later, so pay attention. So basically, like self-esteem, the misunderstanding about self-esteem is that if you have low self-esteem, it sounds like it's a condition, like it's a chronic thing, like, oh, I chronically have low self-esteem. So if I have low self-esteem, the next logical thing is to say, okay, well, how do I raise it up? How do I just do this magical thing that then raises my self-esteem? And that is kind of like, I have to say that that's actually maybe like a different framework of looking at it, because I would say our default level as human beings is that we actually have high self-esteem, and that our internal voice, however it speaks to us, continues to reduce and pull down on that self-esteem. But if you have low self-esteem, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to have low self-esteem. There's a natural progression where your self-esteem is going to go up. Like, you're going to do things that are going to help you feel accomplished. You're going to be able to feel happy for doing something. Someone is going to compliment you, right? Have you ever been complimented and not feel like you accepted that compliment? people say, good job, and you feel anxious about it, or you feel like, oh yeah, no, it wasn't me. Have you ever said that? This is the way that the world is actually trying to help us with our self-esteem, and we don't accept it and we don't leverage it and use it to raise our self-esteem. So instead of seeing yourself as a person with perhaps low self-esteem where they need to raise it, what we need to look at is what's actually pushing our self-esteem down. And that is the key. Because our self-esteem is actually naturally going to raise if we don't have things that are holding us down. And the things that are holding us down are the self-talk, the things that we're talking to ourselves about. What kind of things do you say to yourself that push you down? Oh, I'm never gonna, here, I'll share with you some of mine. Oh, like I'm never gonna find the right person in my life that accepts me. Oh, I'm never gonna be beautiful in my transition. Oh, like this is not gonna work out, whatever I'm working on, because I'm just believing that I'm an artist and that there's no money to be made there, or I don't really bring any value to the conversation or to this or what have you. When I say those are all sounding super harsh and can't possibly be true. But that's the sneaky thing with self-talk, is we don't examine it often. So the negative self-talk just sits there in the background and just feeds us these feelings that have no tangibility. There's no words attached to them, they're just feelings. And so without the words, it just sneaks under the radar as like just a neural network just firing some negative belief system that you don't even question because you can't see what it is. It's just an ever-present feeling of, I'm not good enough, I can't do this well. So that's the thing we have to locate within you in order to work on your self-esteem. And the best way of doing that is to start recognizing when you're doing it and writing it down. So if you'd like to work on your self-esteem, here's what I recommend to you. And if you'd like to share with me in the comments below, I'd be more than happy to hear how this goes for you. Write down some of the things that your negative self-talk is saying to you. Oh, like I'll never be beautiful. Oh, like no one's ever going to accept me. Those kinds of things. Whatever comes out, write them down. And it may be really hard to see some of these things and engage with these negative patterns because it's going to come out harsh and you believe these things. So it's deep in there, right? This is deep work. Working with self-esteem is no joke. Write those things down. Allow yourself to see them on the paper. And that's the magic part, is when you see it on your paper, you can go, why do I believe that? That doesn't make any logical sense. And so when you can see that, you can draw that connection and go, oh, okay, well, that's a belief that I have. Now I can work with that. I can change that. And I can label this thought so I can recognize it when I'm doing it. And so when I engage, I think the one that haunts me the most is something about my transition, about how I'll never be the person that I want to be. When I hear that, oh, like you'll never find that partner that's right for you, and this kind of feeling of loathing and like sadness and kind of like just like, why did I choose this path? All of those feelings kind of bucketed into one like firing of a neuron. I'll see it and I'll go, oh, hello. I hear you. I see the voice. But instead of just accepting what you're giving to me, this negative self-talk, I'm just going to be like, oh, like there it is. And I don't believe it because it doesn't make any sense. So there you go. And you just keep doing that over and over and over and over. And it takes months, especially when you're working through these like really deep ones. But every time that you do it, you're changing the pathway. You're changing the way your brain is working, and you're starting to create a conscious disconnect with these engagements that you've built over years and years and years. This is how you climb out of depression. This is how you climb into a higher self-esteem. You rebuild the way that your brain is working. It's wired to be a certain way, and the more you engage, neurons that fire together, wire together, the more you engage, the more these things become just your reality, and it becomes shorter. the shorter the firing, the less conscious you are of it because it just happens instantly. Ouch. Sorry, I'm really active today. I guess I just punched myself. They fire instantly. This is the thing. They fire instantly. And so they're really hard to detangle, and why we need like therapists and other people to help us detangle them. But if you're conscious and mindful of your own brain and how it's working, you can learn to uncouple them. And it's like teaching a dog new tricks. You just have to keep being consistent and keep pushing on it. Keep pushing on it. And as you do this, you will recondition your mind to the point where you'll be like, I don't even think of these things anymore because it's not even relevant. I've rewired my brain completely. And that's been something for me that has really proven successful, rewiring my mind, rewiring out of conflict, rewiring into positive self-talk, and not believing all the bull crap that comes up. And the sneaky thing is, as you rewire, these negative self-talk patterns are going to try and come in at different angles because they will adapt. There is some kind of source to this negative self-talk that is rooted in a deeper belief. And that's something you're going to have to dig into and find what that root cause is. But I can tell you on the surface level, the negative self-talk is the symptom of something deeper. And if you can start working with the symptoms, you can really start to attack the root once you feel empowered enough to engage. So that's a really powerful trick that I wanted to give you today. And I will see you next week. Yeah, I'm not doing Fridays anymore. I'm doing them on Saturday or on Sunday. I'm doing postings Sunday through Thursday. So I send you love, and I will see you on Sunday. Bye, darlings.